I just worked with Coleman, Wallace on a national campaign. Almost everyone who worked on this show, A, was only charging about half of what they were entitled to legally for per diems. And also, a lot of people needed help with invoicing. So Coleman has been generous enough to let me show him my process, both for invoicing through Wave Accounting. And we're going to talk about most Canadians working in film and TV charging only about half of what they're entitled to for per diems. So let's dig in. Coleman, thanks for being vulnerable enough to do this.
No problem.
I'm going to ask you first to open or Google Wave Accounting.
Waveapps.com.
Exactly. Waveapps.com, manage your money like a boss, small business software. This is not a sponsored video, but this is the software I use both as an individual freelancer
Mm-hmm.
and as a corporation.
Get started for free.
Yeah.
Mm,
This is the part where we cut to you having done this so we don't dox you.
sure.
All right, Coleman,
Mhm.
What would you like to do in Wave? Send good looking invoices. It's right there.
Beauty.
Yeah. And go for the starter plan for $0 free to use. All right. And Coleman, I want you to talk me through also how you're experiencing this
Sure.
and how people watching might experience this process.
Beginning is super easy, just like any other website. Sign up. I'm assuming we can connect our bank accounts after we go through this.
Yeah. And that's a pro feature as well. So we won't worry about that.
Mhm.
So on the left and the UX, UI. So on the left, there you go. That's your navigation. So you're going to go to sales and payments. That's what you're doing. And invoices. Add a logo. If you have one, choose an accent color. If you'd like to, you can choose a template. Coleman, why don't you go ahead and click through and see which one you prefer?
We'll stick with modern.
And on the right, there's a pill button. Looks good. Let's go. And there you go. You have a template. Now we're going to create a version that you'll be able to use for per diems forever for the rest of your life. Okay.
Perfect.
So yeah. So let's go ahead and add a customer. Put the customer in as Intersectionnel Films
Okay.
or something similar.
Do you mind spelling it for me?
Yeah. INTER
Yeah.
SECTIONNEL, two N's EL, and then films.
It's okay.
There you go. And you can put the contact as Gavin Seal and hit save. There you go. For
Nice.
invoice number, I'm going to ask that you put 1001 since this is your first invoice. The reason for that, this is a personal thing. The process I use, a lot of people will put things like the client's name in here or other things that are specific to the project. You're the freelancer. This is your invoice number. So getting weird with things that are specific, I find complicates the internal bookkeeping. Because let's say you had GS for Gavin Seal 001 and then you had like CW 001. For your accountant, like it should be 001 and 002. The other reason I like to have at least 3 characters is because when I pay an invoice via Interact Transfer, I like to use the security question, what is the invoice number? And it requires a minimum of 3 characters. So when I get an invoice that's like invoice 27, then I have to come up with some security question, like what city are you based in or whatever.
Yeah.
In the top right, under invoice, do you see there's a summary of the name of the project or description of invoice? You can throw something in there. Whatever seems appropriate for the gig that we just did is fine.
Okay.
Now, other things that might be worth talking about, in the top right, you'll have your enter business address and contact details button there. Why don't you go ahead and click that? I'm not going to ask you to put your business details in on the recording. So that's where later you're going to put your details in so that your client, i.e. me, can pay you without a delay.
Sure.
You never know who's still, writing a check. So put that shipping address in. So go ahead and click save.
Save, yeah.
There you go.
Hmm.
Now, PO/SO number. I actually have no idea what SO is, but PO is purchase order. A purchase order typically is what a company provides vendor once an order for purchase has gone through their procurement system. So when I was at Mattel, for example, Mattel might get a proposal from Gavin Media, let's say, and it goes through, the contracts are signed, the accounting department unlocks the funds, issues a purchase order so that then you could invoice 1001. When procurement gets it, it tracks back to the purchase order and it keeps the whole process streamlined. The reality is that's usually for big companies. When it's smaller projects, usually there isn't a purchase order because the company doesn't have that sophisticated a procurement system.
Hmm. Okay.
Invoice date. You can leave this as today. Now, payment due date. This is where, in this case, according to the deal memo, I believe the payment terms were 15 days. So you can go ahead and put in within 15 days.
Hmm.
In the right column, you'll actually see there are some
Okay.
defaults on receipt within 15. The only reason I highlight doing that rather than going into the calendar is so that anyone watching sees that there are kind of standards. I've had some people who, to be honest, the deal memo might say do within 15 days and they're nagging me after 8 days. And it's like, like, give me a little time here.
Hmm.
That's why ideally we're in alignment from the deal memo phase. But this is a nice way to reconfirm with your client what the terms of the deal memo were.
For sure.
So 15 days. And now we get to the fun part, charging money for your
Yeah.
from your labor investment.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where it seems almost everyone in Canada is only charging like $75 a day for per diem, even though legally we're entitled to closer to $140 a day. And this is wild to me that this isn't common knowledge, even within production companies, like the production company that we had as a client on this gig. Fortunately, when I brought it up, they were happy to oblige and learn that they had been underpaying. And so one of the reasons I wanted to record this video is in the hopes that it kind of goes viral so that all of us actually get paid like $140 a day that we're entitled to legally for per diem.
Hmm.
But first, let's explain why that is, right?
Sure.
Let's start by adding an item, and let's say breakfast. And then enter description per diem for breakfast. Now, the question is, how much is the appropriate entitlement? I'm not saying charge because this isn't really a product, good, or service. It's a
Hmm.
legal entitlement that you, Coleman, are entitled to because we were working all over Quebec and New Brunswick. You weren't in a position where you could get groceries and make a couple eggs in your hotel room, right?
Hmm.
So I'm going to ask you to open a tab and share this tab with the audience so they can see what is informing this. Because I think most freelancers are just like, the production company said to $75. So I guess I get $75. It's like, no, there's a law here. So, okay. So if you can open up a tab, share
Hmm.
that with viewers.
Sure.
And Google meal allowances CRA, and then click on Appendix B. And here you go. So again, I'm not an accountant. Check with your accountant. I've checked with mine. As you can see, Canada, that's ours. There's specifics for Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, where it's more expensive to get food. So breakfast, 28.40, lunch, 27.40, dinner, 57.70. So meal allowance, 113.50, and incidentals is things like toothbrush and things that you need to, have a reasonable standard of living while working on the road. So, or at least that's my understanding. So in total, I don't think a lot of people even charge for incidentals. Yeah. So in total, most people are entitled to almost $140 in meal allowances and incidental expenses. And for some reason, it's still the practice to like hand people an envelope for $75. And I can't believe more people aren't talking about this. So let's put this in for you. All right. So 28.40, that's your breakfast. And it kind of makes sense, right? Because like it is expensive. Like eggs are expensive nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in
So
Quebec.
yeah, gosh, no.
Mhm.
So go ahead and do the same for lunch, dinner, and incidentals. Great. Now, something that I do because it seems, needed to enlighten clients about these being the legal rates, I include like per diem for breakfast in accordance with CRA regulations. And then in parentheses, I put see below. And then in the notes and terms at the bottom of the invoice, I put CRA regulations, and then I add a link to the website that we just visited. So I'd recommend that you do the same.
Do you want me to add this into the description?
Yeah, exactly. So I put per diem for breakfast in accordance with CRA rates. And then in parentheses, I put see below. There you go. And then I do it for all four of these line items
Sure.
because now I've come to expect there to be a conversation about this. And the good clients are happy to learn and happy to pay in accordance with the law. The bad clients push back and then I don't work with them again.
Yeah.
So, and now in the notes at the bottom, the first thing I always put is for Interac e-transfer payments, please send to, and I'm not going to ask you to enter your email here, Coleman, but put email@email.com for the viewers. And then payments are non-transferable and non-reimbursable. Again, these are kind of like off the top of my head, like roughly what I remember putting in here, but you're going to want to check with your people and do your own research. What are the other ones for anyone who's interested in taking credit cards? It does lead to significantly faster payments in general and facilitates the process. But I include a term here. Credit cards can be accommodated. Let me know if that's your preferred method of payment, and I will add a 5% processing fee. And that 5% covers the like anywhere between 2.9 and 5% that the platform charges me. So then I would add that. I think there's another term or two, but we can talk about that separately. People should do their due diligence. The other thing worth noting here is right now you haven't added any tax. If you charge tax, you do want to add it here. And based on recent conversations with my accountant, I do charge tax on per diem. This is because there's another CRA page that suggests that entitlements are subject to sales tax because it's in the process of doing business. By the time this is seen, like maybe I'll learn something else or maybe that'll change. Check with your people.
And
Any questions?
in the notes is where we can add the CRA link, right?
Bingo. Yes. And please add the CRA link in the notes. Oh, the other thing I like to do is I print a void check from my account and then I add the void check in the attachments. You can do that if you'd like. That way it's always there. And then go ahead and click save and continue.
Okay.
Okay. So for the most part, this is your draft. Now, if you want to go back to the navigation bar on the left and go to sales and invoices, sales and payments, and then down to invoices. Now you see you have a draft, right? So
Mhm.
now, Coleman, you have your template for a day of per diems in your thing. So it's like everything, once you do it once, it's going to save you hours over the rest of your life. So
Mhm.
if you scroll to the right, you'll have a drop down that will let you duplicate this. So go ahead and click that arrow, duplicate. And now we did, I think, 9 shoot days. So you
Yeah.
can actually, before you even start the job, you can, knowing that you're going to do 9 shoot days, you can prep this template for the job. So throw in 9 as the quantity for all of the units of these line items.
Do we have, oh, for the quantity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. And you can see, like, okay, I'm just going to do the math with 10 as an example. If you had just done what the production company said and charged $75 for 10 days, you'd get $750. And at these rates, you're getting closer to 12 or 1300. Like, that's a huge difference. The other thing is for facilitating the process using Wave, you can do this all straight up. And then, well, on the road, people are like, well, how am I supposed to keep track of, when production buys me a meal? Like, how do I track it? I have to add the meal. No, no. Your default should be as a freelancer, your default should be, I have to charge, or I'm entitled to repayment if production does not provide a meal. So you can go ahead and save this, Coleman. And let's say this was day one of our shoot, and we hit the road and we stop at Tim Hortons and I pay for everyone's lunch. Then on your mobile device, you just go into this draft, you hit edit, and what do?
Change that to 8.
Easy. And
Easy.
save. Now,
Save.
then when you hit edit,
Mhm.
in the description of breakfast, hit enter for like line break, and then enter and then dash, and then add like breakfast paid for by production on August 6th. 2020. Love it. There you go. The other thing, like with all clients, like when you're working at this level of professionalism, like if like Coleman, now that you've done this, or anyone watching it, at some point already you're going to look so much more organized and more professional than most of the like invoices that producers like me have to deal with, that we will just assume that this is perfect. Like, you're showing me that you're such organized, diligent freelancer that I'm going to, by default, trust this and like advance it to payment. The only thing a client might bump on is like, oh, this is more than I'm used to paying. You might have to have that conversation about like, well, this is the law. But like we talked about, this is what they should be paying. But how do you argue with this? Like, you're clearly, like, you know what you're doing, right? So go ahead and save this and continue. In your case, because it's the free version, you can approve. So hit send invoice. So this is a limitation now of the free version, where you can either copy the link and then email me and I'll click the link, or
Mhm.
you can download the PDF.
There's also a launch email button. So if you have like a desktop email, I'm assuming that'll open that.
Yeah, there
If
you
you're
go.
on, if you're on Mac, then for sure.